Look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world.
This is the Wrestling Matters podcast where we stand up for professional wrestling.
Here we fucking go!
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Make it till death!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Simpson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of the WCPW podcast, brought to you by Wrestling Matters. That's right, yours truly, the head Anthony. Welcome back with another installment of the WCPW podcast. How are we all doing? Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys have enjoyed WCPW this week as well. I just managed to catch it after coming back from my exercise thing that I was doing. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. Not a problem whatsoever. Headlined this week by a match that was made last week with Alberto Patron one-on-one with Hendry, with a very piss-poor ending in my eyes, and some heel turns. I'll get to them later. Apologies if I'm a little bit down at the moment. I'm just as I'm doing this right now, I've just finished dealing with my crew that I work with in the chat. Look, I love them to death, don't get me wrong, but they hurt my head sometimes. They really do, most of them. But anyway, excuse me if I'm trying to bring some insanity with this, I'm trying to have common sense in here, but, it's wishful thinking on my part. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get to wrestling. This is what this is all about. It's not about crews or anything like that. This is a wrestling podcast, and it's WCPW. Very strange kickoff to the show this week, to be honest, because out of the blue, Martin Kirby comes out, addresses his role as the general manager of What Culture Pro Wrestling, and proceeds to resign as What Culture Pro Wrestling's general manager, claiming that he's vowing to get that WCPW title, and he wants to be the WCPW champion more than he wants to be the What Culture Pro Wrestling's general manager. But he claims next week at Exit Wounds, which is the big show they've got coming up, he will proclaim a new What Culture Pro Wrestling general manager, and he will announce the replacement next week, so that should be interesting in its own right. Match-wise, Joe Coffey went one-on-one with BT Gunn. BT in control most of the match, and he was working on Joe Coffey's arm, but the tough Iron Man that he is, and he is an Iron Man, and a great wrestler at that, Joe manages to get the win with a hard-fought victory, even though he had a one-arm, basically it was a one-arm bandit. He ended up using the discus lariat to get the victory. And there seemed to be some respect there. Despite the fact that BT was not happy losing, there seemed to be some respect there in the match, which was, hey, it was what it was, ladies and gentlemen. But Joe manages to get the victory in what was a hard-fought win. More on Joe Coffey later on. B. Presitly challenges Nixon Newell for the women's title. It was a fight, kind of reminiscent from the last woman standing match they had before, which was it last year? I think it was last year, to be honest. Sometime last year. It was kind of reminiscent towards that. And the Shining Wizard after a headbutt, because B spat in her face, Nixon's face. Nixon got a little upset about it. Headbutts Presitly, lays her out, Shining Wizard after that, and then proceeds to punt her with her head between the chair. The chair is like standing if you were like going to sit down on it, but she stuck the head between the back brace and the seat, the back where you rest your back on as you're sitting down, and the seat. She stuck her head between there, and Nixon proceeds to kick the head right off her shoulder. And Nixon was in control, and then from out of nowhere, Viper comes in, hits B with a chair, proceeds to beat down on her, and it hits Nixon with a chair, and then proceeds to put a beat down on her. And then B. Presitly somehow walks out women's champion. Nixon Newell Viper feud. I would probably think so after that. But surely Viper is looking for the women's title in her own right. I almost said something else there. Another great match involving Liam Slater and Zack Sabre Jr. This was I don't know what to make of this match, to be honest with you. This was unbelievable. Unbelievable, because looking on this, nothing against Liam Slater, but you would think, look at this match going in, you would think Zack Sabre Jr. was going to get a victory. No problem. Zack Sabre Jr. wins. Yeah, piece of cake. Great wrestling match, back and forth stuff between the two. You would expect that, like I've said many, many times. Put someone in the ring with Zack Sabre Jr., you will get a wrestling match out of him. Boom. The Zack Sabre Jr. is that kind of person. There's no question about that. But I was shocked with the ending of this. that was the story of the match. The story was great wrestling. Zack Sabre Jr. and Liam Slater took each other to the limit. Liam Slater proved that he's a great wrestler as well, and not just a tag team wrestler with his partner Johnny Moss, who's on the shelf at the moment. And I couldn't believe the ending, because with a diving headbutt, Liam Slater manages to get an upset victory. And in my opinion, and I agree with the commentators, Matt Stryker and Jim Ross, mainly Matt Stryker, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't see that coming. And Liam Slater, quite frankly, gets the biggest upset in WCPW's existence, in my opinion, by beating a very worthwhile opponent in Zack Sabre Jr. I never saw that coming. But fair play to you, Liam Slater. And he proved that maybe he can hang without Johnny Moss for this period of time, because he said when Moss comes back, they'll be going for the tag titles again. But at the moment right now, Moss is on the shelf, so Liam has something to do. And Moss gave him some great advice. Go after your spot. Don't let anybody take over your spot. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself for the time being. So whatever Moss said to Mr. Slater seems to have worked, because he got the biggest win in his existence. He got the biggest upset in WCW's life, WCPW's life. And Mr. Slater picked up the biggest win of his career by beating the one and only Zack Sabre Jr. Like I say, I never saw that coming. And the main event, Alberto El Patron, one-on-one with Joe Hendry. The match was made last week. Good wrestling match between the two. You would expect that. Patron brought it. But the story of the match was the ending. The ref takes a bump after a clothesline from Joe Hendry. And then Henry uses the low blow, looks to pull in. And then he uses the chair. He goes to use the steel chair. But Patron... And as Patron's about to take the chair, because I think he was going to take it, Travis Banks and Joe Coffey come out to save the day. Or so we thought. They try and calm Joe Hendry down, stop him from using the chair. Next minute, boom, kick to the face by Travis Banks. And the next minute, they're putting a beat down on El Patron. They hold El Patron up for Joe Hendry. Henry hits him with a chair, and Henry gets a victory. Heel turn by Banks, and, well, I think Banks was already a heel, but heel turn by Joe Coffey. And, there seems to be a new group on the arising. Joe Hendry, Joe Coffey, Travis Banks. What will happen? I guess we'll find out next week at Exit Wounds. But that was the ending of the What Culture Pro Wrestling, and that was the ending of this podcast, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Very strange. Very strange podcast. Very strange WCPW, but hey, it worked. It was what it was, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. My name is Anthony Walker for the Wrestling Madness channel and SoundCloud.com, at WM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook.com/WM Podcast. Check out the new episode 152, which is on the Wrestling Madness YouTube channel. Check it out, of the Wrestling Madness Podcast. My name is Anthony Walker, bidding you a nice farewell. See you next week, guys, for Exit Rooms. Peace.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Simpson.